Hey everyone, welcome to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren, living here in North Hollywood, California, where temperatures have been getting up to 111 degrees, and I have a very small AC unit in a fairly decent sized apartment. So we're going to keep this short today because I don't know how long my computer is going to last in this heat before it just decides to shut itself off. So first of all, we're going to start off with talking about, now, if this was not in the time of a pandemic, I would bring up the fact that you should not be wearing perfume in an audition, ever, ever, ever. You never want to risk the casting director being allergic and you ruin your chances that way. No actor has ever been cast because they, quote, smell good, but they have not been cast if they, quote, don't smell good. And I guarantee you your cologne or perfume does not smell good to everybody. So we'll update this now for 2020, August 19th, and say not only, you know, who cares about the perfume? You're doing a lot of your auditions over Skype. But oh my goodness, guys, take a shower. And here's why. Because when you take a shower and you go through all of the motions that you normally do for an audition, for your Zoom audition, it's going to come across so much better. And I know because I kind of just didn't do that the other day. I was like, oh, whatever. I did my workout in. I just got to slap on some makeup, do my hair, and then jump on this audition. And when I did, I could feel like I just felt gross, and I knew they didn't know, like I looked fine, but I knew, and I think it had a negative effect on my performance. So learn from my mistakes, take a shower, don't wear perfume. The casting directors and people that you work with on set as well will thank you for it. Okay, so for our little acting lesson today, we are going to talk about substitution. Those of you well versed in Stanislavski know this already, but hey, it doesn't hurt to have a little brush up. So what it means is, let's say your character is being blackmailed. There has been a time in your personal life where either maybe you have been blackmailed, and if case, I'm very sorry that happened to you, or something embarrassing or something that made you angry has happened to you. And so what some actors do, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you read the script and you're like, oh, my character's blackmailed, and you can access that emotion. You kind of get the scene and you don't need to dig anything from your own life. You know, all actors have their own sort of process of getting into things. But sometimes maybe you're not feeling the scene, and substitution is a great thing to do. So if you are, you know, in a love scene and you have a crush on somebody, it hopefully not your acting partner, because that always makes it a little bit harder. You'd think it'd make it easier, but actually it does not. So if you are, you know, have a scene, you have to make out with somebody, you know, picturing the face of the person that you do have a crush on, or, you know, if you think Brad Pitt is hot, but this actor is not, just picture that you're doing the scene with Brad Pitt. That's another way you can use substitution. I mean, it sounds so simple and so silly, but it's the same thing. And I mean, there have been times when I have been kind of like out of like the love game. You know, I've had my heart broken and I was just not in the mood to be in love on set that day. Instead, I pictured the most delicious chocolate cake I could like conjure in my head in place of where that actor's face was. And it worked on screen because I wanted that cake and I was in love with that cake, and it worked. And it sounds silly, but there are times that we need little silly tricks to get us somewhere quick. And once you've latched onto that emotion, you don't have to spend the whole scene thinking about the cake, because now you've got the emotion. Now you take the emotion and you move through the scene with that emotion. You don't need to think about cake anymore. You already should be there. And a little bit of COVID-19 inspiration. Now, I will caveat this with, I have not been able to get my apartment under 93 degrees in this heat, even with my AC on. So for me to get up and film something right now or even write something is absolutely miserable. And so dealing with the pandemic and not seeing my friends and not being able to go out on top of this heat, and then my poor cat got heat sickness and I had to take him to the vet this morning, and just dealing with everything. It's okay to not be productive for a moment, right? You can take a step back and be like, listen, it is freaking hot. I just need to get through this heat wave and survive without dying or passing out. And so I understand if you are there. But I do want you to spend this time. If you can't actively do something, you can actively plan, right? And the best way to predict the future is to create it yourself. And so we've talked about this before. What do you want your life to look like when we come out of COVID? What do you want to be able to show an agent? Hey, look what I've done while under lockdown. Now imagine what I can do when not in lockdown and how hungry I am and how much I want this. So if you want to really know where your future is going to be a year from now, 2 years, 5 years, I wouldn't plan days, weeks, or even months right now. I would plan for next year. Where do you want to be next August? Where do you want to be? What do you want to have under your belt? What kind of credits do you want on your IMDb? And while you're laying on the floor next to your poor hot cat or dog or husband, wife, friend, iguana, goldfish, whatever it is that you're hanging out with, dust balls, because who's sweeping up and cleaning in this heat, right? As you're laying there, just grab a notebook and a paper and just write down some goals and predict your future. Predict your future by creating it yourself. And that is all for today, guys. I hope you are so much cooler than I am. And just take care of yourselves, take care of each other, break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone.